Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the command. Can I just express my frustration with everything on behalf of our community? I think there was a lot of hope yesterday, Chief, when you outlined the surge and contain strategy and the sense of urgency to get this thing under control. Despite that, I think people are expressing frustration because they're not seeing any results. To hear that we need legal advice on what can be done to clamp down on some of the behaviors is it's baffling. There is criminal behavior happening down there. And I think if we could see the officers in the neighborhoods, have we gone in and arrested people who are causing trouble at night? I think if we could see some concrete things happening, maybe people wouldn't be so frustrated. We see Quebec City taking action. We see Toronto taking action. I mean, obviously with hindsight, look at what's going on here. But at the same time, you need officers. We're getting more officers, but we need to be told if there's a concrete plan in place that we can start arresting people. How do we know that things are going to blow up if we haven't done anything except monitor and keep the peace? This can't continue. And this is day 8. Can I just say that knowing that we haven't been in touch with the NCC to decide about policing Confederation Park is mind-boggling to me. Have we not put all the levels of government and the decision makers in our room to determine, because this is an unprecedented situation, that we have to take unprecedented decisions?
The military.
And move, because we're giving it the signal to all these people who are coming into town that it's a free-for-all. You know, they can take tires off trucks. They can put up buildings. They can bring in fuel. They can take over our stadium. We've given them the signal that it's a come and party in our town. And if I'm expressing frustration, not just as a board member and a city councillor, but as a resident of the city, to see about our colleagues and our fellow residents downtown being so hard put upon. I believe it when I hear my city councillors, the city councillors downtown say there's no police presence in the neighborhoods and people have been left on their own. We want to know what the plan is. We want to know concretely what is going to happen. Are we going to start making arrests? Or do we just wait for more intelligence? I'm assuming other cities are getting intelligence, but they're still taking concrete action. So please, I apologize if I'm off base here as a board member, but we're not getting answers. We're not getting the answers that we require here. Please, I'm begging you, give us some answers. What's going to be done here?
Okay, thank you, Member Meehan. Again, as you've expressed and others on the call, great passion and empathy for those that have suffered the most. And as a long resident of Ottawa, a frustration to see your city in this circumstances. As a new resident of Ottawa, I share that in every aspect that you've articulated so well. You asked a question about whether or not we had a level of coordination going into this. I will ask Deputy Chief Ferguson to describe the intersect model around which this and all of our other operations are built on. I'll then ask Deputy Chief Bell to talk about the arrests and the charges that we have laid and the investigations that are underway and the status as much as we can share on a call like this. So Trish, if you can help the member to understand how we integrate with all the other agencies, not just policing, but NCR related agencies, and then over to Steve now.
I can, Chief. Thank you, Member Meehan. The intersect is the National Capital Region, and it involves all of the parties in the area, and we have monthly calls to share information. I can tell by your reaction that that's not what you're interested in hearing right now, and I can certainly appreciate we are as frustrated as you, but every one of these situations that arises, we can't take the law into our own hands. You demand that of us. We have to be the level head, and we have to be the ones who are responding based on the authorities that we have got, and they don't change in this situation. No one has wanded us with powers to arrest if we don't have them. We still have to follow the Charter of Rights. We still have to go by the Trespass to Property Act. If the NCC is the owner of the Confederation Park, we have to get their approval before weighing in on those things. So we are trying to abide by all of these things, because there's no point in making arrests and a whole lot of effort and energy if it's only going to be tossed out later in court because we haven't abided by it. We know these things from past protests, from other people's decisions, from what's happened through the courts. What I will say is places like Quebec City, Toronto, they have learned from us. Absolutely. We're not saying we didn't make any mistakes. We're saying we are learning as we go on a lot of these things, and we are doing the best we can. Every one of us is.
So can we not get the NCC to give us approval to go on to Confederation Park and dismantle this core, this party central?
We have that, and I can tell you that we have made progress in the last 3 hours. While I've been on calls with people, that's happening. I can't tell you exactly what's happening right now because I can't be there, but I can tell you that our folks have been, they haven't abandoned the goal here. They are working through it methodically and by lawful powers that we have. And nothing has changed. We have, as I said, have not been granted all kinds of new powers because this has happened in our city. As much as
everybody has power in this city except the police and residents. That's the message that we're giving to the protesters in this city. I'm sorry. That's what
for the last
speaking on behalf, not just myself, I'm speaking on behalf of very frustrated residents. We appreciate everything that the police are doing. We do. And I understand that they're exhausted, but this is day 8. And we need to know that this is going to end. And right now, I think if you're listening to this, I think there's nothing that indicates that we're not in for more days of this. So I'll just stay quiet from now on. I apologize. Yes, I am passionate, but I have to be on behalf of everybody that is feeling very, very helpless right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Meehan. Members.
Did Member Meehan want to hear about the arrests? I just wasn't sure if that was the end of her question.
Yes, I'd love to hear about who's been arrested. And I'd like to know what's going to happen tonight when there's bonfires and more parties and more honking. I'd like to know what's going to happen.
Okay, thank you. And I share your frustration about when this is going to end. I think we'd like to know when there'll be an end to COVID and what was the detailed plan to end COVID, but that was an unprecedented pandemic. And there is no detailed plan for these things. But Deputy Chief Bell, could you provide an update on the status of our criminal arrests, criminal investigations, hate crime investigations, multi-jurisdiction investigations?
A few moments later.
Thank you, Chair. I've calmed down a bit. I will ask this question. I just got some information, and it is that, could I ask David White about Part 4 of the National Defense Act called Aid of the Civil Power, which states, if there is a riot or disturbance, the feds can send in the military. I've calmed down a bit. The military. I've calmed down a bit. The military. I guess it's not the same as the War Measures Act, but because this has to do with a federal issue, and the protesters are taking issue with the feds and provincial policies. Does anybody know about the National Defense Act? Can somebody look about that? Or David, Mr. White?
Chair, happy to review. Obviously, the invoking federal powers is something that is going to be exclusively within the authority of the federal government.
Okay. Okay, so there seems to be, there could possibly be a tool there.
The military.
Chair, I'm wondering if we can make a direction either to you as the chair of this board to reach out to the federal government. We have several ministers who represent Ottawa ridings, Minister Fortier. We also have opposition members from this area that we can ask for the Prime Minister to get involved in this, the Premier of the province, and everybody in a position of power.
The military.
To make this a top priority, that we come up with a solution to this. We can't allow this to continue for another week in our city. Would a direction be in order?
Probably not necessary, but certainly if you would like to direct me to do that, I think I will do it anyway. What I heard today is that we should be asking everyone who has power to act now, because we are in a crisis situation. And so there are other levels of government that have more power than we have that could enact pieces of legislation, that could set curfews in place, and that could reduce the risk to the public. And we need to ask every single level of government to push the levers that they have that will most effectively bring about the end to this. So if you want to give me a direction, you can, but I think I understand it.
I would like to give you a direction, and I'm hoping that the other members of the board will support me in that. The Prime Minister has to make a statement on this. They're not going to go away until they hear from him.
Our departure will be based on the Prime Minister doing what is right, ending all mandates and restrictions on our freedoms.
He can't ignore this anymore. This is in his front yard. This is his city, as well as our city. And the federal government have resources that they can mobilize, legal resources that we can't access ourselves right now. We have to use every tool available in a toolbox in order to bring this to successful and a peaceful closure and get our city back into a peaceful mode.
The military.
Everybody's on the breaking point. We have COVID. We're worried that this, everybody who's unmasked and forcing others to unmask this is going to be a super spreader event, whether they're outside or not. I've calmed down a bit. There's children down there. There's a newborn baby down there in a truck. This is unconscionable.
Back to your shanties.
I respectfully ask that you do everything in your power, Chair, to pull all the powers to be together in order to come up with a concrete plan to end this.
As a police board, I think that we have heard that we need more help and more resources, and we need the assistance of the federal and provincial governments to do their part. What I'm not going to do is tell the Prime Minister how to do his job. And I'm sorry, but I'm not sure that meeting with terrorists is something that he's going to do. And I'm not going to tell him how to do his job. He can make those decisions.
The military.
Showing hateful symbols of genocide, of
the War Measures
racism.
Act.
These are things that are absolutely unacceptable, and the people of Ottawa,
the military,
deserve to have their lives back.
Meeting with terrorists.
How do we know that things are going to blow up if we haven't done anything except monitor and keep the peace?
How do we know that things are going to blow up if we haven't done anything except monitor and keep the peace?
How do we know that things are going to blow up if we haven't done anything except monitor and keep the peace?
How do we know that things are going to blow up if we haven't done anything except monitor and keep the peace?
The brutal assault by an estimated 30,000 Chinese troops ended at Tiananmen Square in the heart of Beijing, where thousands of students had been staging a sit-in for democracy for the past 3 weeks. In a last-ditch effort to stop the army, demonstrators tossed firebombs on armored personnel carriers and tanks as they rumbled into the square early Sunday morning.
Experts move away from recommending stringent restrictions. Experts move away from recommending stringent restrictions. A new study out of Johns Hopkins University suggests pandemic lockdowns were not effective at reducing mortality rates globally, and a growing list of countries are already opening up, most recently Denmark and Sweden.
The military.
Soldiers fired automatic weapons into crowds of civilians.
The military.
Defiant demonstrators have been continuing to skirmish with the army despite its overwhelming presence in and around Tiananmen Square.